Think about this for a second. If California were its own country, it would have the fifth largest economy on the entire planet. Yeah, bigger than India, bigger than the UK. This is the incredible story of how this rugged, remote piece of land became an absolute global powerhouse.
And we're not kidding. Its influence in tech, in farming, in entertainment, well, it pretty much shapes the world we live in every single day. It's this wild place that's been under the flag of Spain, Mexico, and even for a short time, its own independent republic before becoming the American giant we know today.
So, that's the big question, right? How did a place that was once considered way too far away and too difficult to even bother colonizing become the center of attention for the entire world? Well, that's exactly what we're going to dive into.
To really get California, we have to go way, way back, long before the Spanish missions, long before Hollywood. We've got to start with the very first people who called this place home and shaped it for thousands of years.
Okay, just look at this timeline for a moment. The sheer scale of time here is, well, it's just mind-boggling. People first arrived around 10,000 BC, but the first European contact, that didn't happen for more than 11,000 years. And the first permanent settlement took another 200 years after that. Kind of puts the rest of the story into perspective, doesn't it?
And we're not talking about just one group of people here. The land was this vibrant tapestry of over 100 distinct tribes with a huge population in the hundreds of thousands. Every single one had its own rich culture, its own language, and its own way of life that was just perfectly woven into California's diverse landscape.
For 2 whole centuries, you had European ships, guys like Juan Rodriguez Cabrillo for Spain or Francis Drake for England, popping up on the coast every now and then. But they never stuck around. To them, the land was just too remote, and it didn't seem to have the easy riches that would make setting up a whole colony worth the massive effort. So, for a long time, California was pretty much left alone.
But that all changed in 1769. That's when the Spanish Franciscan missionaries showed up. Now, their official goal was to convert the indigenous people to Christianity. But the reality on the ground? It was brutal. Native people were often forced into labor, their ancestral lands were taken, and their entire way of life was systematically torn apart, which, as you can imagine, led to several revolts.
This period of Spanish control really set the stage for an incredibly turbulent and chaotic era where California's flag changed hands again and again, paving the way for the America we know.
So when Mexico finally won its independence from Spain in 1821, California went right along with it, and this triggered a massive cultural shift. The Mexican government basically broke up the mission system and its huge land holdings. The whole focus changed from religion to ranching, and new trade rules opened the doors for a flood of American and European settlers.
And those new American settlers, they started to outnumber the Mexican Californios really fast. Feeling their power growing, they launched an uprising in the summer of 1846. They declared their own independent California Republic and hoisted that now famous bear flag. But get this, their independence lasted for less than a month before the U.S. Army, which was already fighting the Mexican-American War, just rolled in and took over.
And just like that, it was official. The Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo was signed, and California was now part of the United States. But here's the crazy part. Just a few weeks before that treaty was even signed, something happened that would change not just California, but the entire world forever.
This is the moment everything changes. A single discovery of some shiny metal in a riverbed literally makes the entire world snap its attention to California, turning this remote territory into a global destination almost overnight.
So picture this, January 24th, 1848. A guy named James W. Marshall is working at a sawmill, and he spots these little shiny flecks in the American River. It's gold. And the news of his discovery? Well, at first it traveled slowly, and then it just spread like wildfire.
300,000. Just let that number sink in. 300,000 people flooded into California, tripling the population in just a few years. It was one of the biggest mass migrations in human history, all focused on this one place, with everyone chasing the exact same dream of striking it rich. And you gotta understand, these 49ers, as they were called, came from everywhere.
This was not just an American thing. People were coming from all over the globe, from China, Mexico, Chile, Australia, all across Europe. It created this incredibly diverse and, let's be honest, often chaotic society right from the very beginning.
So, this explosion in population put California on the absolute fast track to becoming a state. But this period of incredible growth, well, it also came with a really dark side, filled with hardship and tragedy.
So, just 2 years after that first gold discovery, boom, California becomes the 31st state. The money pouring out of the mines fueled insane development in farming and building railroads. But for the original inhabitants, the first Californians, it was an absolute catastrophe. Their population plummeted, and the survivors were brutally forced onto government reservations.
As California grew, it also faced new kinds of disasters. The 1906 San Francisco earthquake was a tragedy on a scale that's hard to even imagine. The city was just leveled. Thousands were killed, and hundreds of thousands of people lost their homes. And yet somehow, from those ashes, the city rebuilt itself, which is just this powerful testament to California's resilience. A few decades later, a whole new wave of people started heading west, but this time they weren't chasing gold. They were running from disaster. Families fleeing the dust-choked plains of the Midwest during the Great Depression saw California as a kind of promised land, a place of sunshine and jobs, a refuge from all that hardship. So you add it all up, the gold rush, the migration from the Dust Bowl, the massive boom after World War II, it all just compounded. And by the mid-1960s, California officially became the most populous state in the entire country. And you know what? It's a title it still holds today.
So, after this whirlwind tour through time, what does all of this complex, messy history really tell us about the California that we know and see today?
Well, what's so clear is that California isn't just one story. It's a land of layers. It carries the legacy of every single one of these identities. It's an ancient homeland, a Spanish colony, a Mexican province, a tiny republic, and finally, a global leader. Each of those eras left a permanent mark, shaping the state we see today.
And that's really the heart of it, isn't it? California didn't become this extraordinary place in spite of its chaotic, sometimes violent, and constantly changing history. No, it became what it is because of it. That constant flood of new people, new ideas, and new challenges. That's the very fire that forged its unique character. From the first peoples thousands of years ago, to the gold rush miners, to the tech innovators in Silicon Valley, California has always been about what's next. So as it faces a whole new set of challenges today, the real question is, what's the next reinvention going to be? And who's going to lead it?